Ever wonder what happens when a neighborhood busybody with too much power gets caught red-handed forging signatures for a shady loan? Let me tell you about the time I accidentally took down the most insufferable HOA president our little suburban enclave had ever seen. This isn't just a story about petty rules and power trips, it's about greed, betrayal, and a bank camera that changed everything. 3 years ago, I moved into Willow Creek, a quiet, cookie-cutter neighborhood with tidy lawns and nosy neighbors. I'd heard whispers about the Homeowners Association and its iron-fisted leader, Linda Harper, but I figured I'd fly under the radar. Keep my grass trimmed, hide my trash cans, no problem, right? Wrong. Linda wasn't just an elected official, she was the self-crowned queen of Willow Creek, and crossing her was like poking a hornet's nest. Trouble started when I got to know my neighbor, Mr. Thompson, an 85-year-old widower who'd lived in his house since the Nixon era, long before the HOA's reign. His yard was a bit cluttered, think quirky garden statues and chipped paint on his shutters, but it had charm. Linda, though, saw it as a personal insult to her shine of perfection. She'd slap him with fines for his unsightly property, knowing full well he was scraping by on a fixed pension. It was cruel, and I couldn't just stand by. So, I helped Mr. Thompson file for a hardship exemption, digging into the HOA bylaws to prove his property was grandfathered in under old rules. Big mistake. Linda didn't take kindly to anyone challenging her authority. One sunny afternoon, she showed up at my door, her blonde bob gleaming, clipboard clutched like a weapon. "James Carter," she said, her smile so fake it could have been plastic. "I hear you're stirring up trouble with our community standards. That's not very neighborly." Her voice dripped with that fake sweet tone that makes your teeth ache. "I work as a compliance officer at River Valley Bank, so I'm used to handling difficult people." I kept my cool. "Linda, I'm just helping Mr. Thompson understand his rights. The exemption's in the bylaws for a reason." Her eyes narrowed, and she tapped her manicured nails on her clipboard. "I decide who qualifies, James. His junky yard is tanking our property values, and that hurts everyone." That's when I realized this wasn't about rules. It was about control. Linda Harper didn't like being questioned, and I just painted a target on my back. From then on, Linda made my life hell. My mailbox was suddenly 3 inches too tall. My garden hose was improperly coiled. My front door's shade of navy? Not on her approved color list, even though half the street had the same one. Each violation came with a fine and a smug little note from Linda, her signature looping like she was signing a royal decree. I documented everything, photos, dates, receipts, because I knew she was playing dirty. Meanwhile, I kept helping Mr. Thompson and a few other neighbors who felt like they were levying under a dictator. Linda was raking in thousands in fines every month, but the HOA's financial reports were sketchy, full of vague entries like miscellaneous expenses. Where was all that money going? When I asked for detailed records at a meeting, Linda shut me down, claiming some made-up executive privy leg. The bylaws said no such thing. Things got serious when a certified letter arrived, claiming I owed due law $4,000 in unpaid fines. Worse, the HOA was threatening to put a lien on my house. This was nuts. I'd contested every fine with proof. I called an emergency board meeting, but Linda showed up with 2 cronies who wouldn't even look at me. "Your appeals are denied," she said, smirking. "Pay up in 30 days, or we'll start foreclosure." One board member flinched at the word foreclosure, and I caught it. "You can't foreclose over contested fines," I shot back. "Show me the minutes from this so-called REVYEW meeting." Linda's face turned beet red. "That meeting was private. Pay or lose your house, James. Simple as that." That was the last straw. I filed a formal request for 5 years of HOA financials, citing state law on transparency. Linda tried to stonewall, but I'd already warned the board they could be personally liable for hiding records. When the documents arrived, they were a mess, hundreds of pages, barely organized. Lucky for me, spotting financial red flags is my day job. I found withdrawals labeled landscaping or legal fees with no invoices to back them up. Then I stumbled on the bombshell, a DULA 60,000 loan application in the HOA's name, supposedly signed by every board member, including Mr. Thompson, who hadn't been on the board in a decade. I rushed to Mr. Thompson's house, the loan papers shaking in my hands. His face went pale when he saw his signature. "That's not mine, son," he said, his voice trembling. "I haven't signed anything since my Margaret passed." My gut sank. Forgery? This wasn't just HOA nonsense anymore, this was a felony. Since the loan was processed at my bank, I had an in. I met with Sarah, a colleague in the loan department, and asked her to pull the security footage from the day the loan was signed, keeping it low-key. The next day, Sarah called me into her office, her face grim. "James, only one person showed up to process that loan, a woman with a blonde bob, claiming she had power of attorney for the board. She handed over all the signatures." I watched the footage, and there was Linda, cool as ice, passing off forged documents like it was just another Tuesday. I took everything to Detective Alvarez at the police station. She didn't mess around. "Financial fraud and forgery? Those are serious charges," she said. "We'll need statements from Mr. Thompson and anyone else whose signature was faked." I also tipped off the state's HOA Oversight Board and our bank's fraud team. While the investigation hummed along, Linda had no clue her house of cards was collapsing. She kept coming for me, even getting my car towed from my own driveway for illegal parking, a rule she'd clearly pulled out of thin air. When I got my car back without paying her fine, she lost it, storming to my door. "You think you're untouchable, don't you?" she hissed, her polished mask slipping. "This neighborhood was perfect until you started meddling. I've run this place for 10 years, and no bank nerd is going to ruin it." I just smiled, which made her madder. "Tomorrow's board meeting is your last, James. I'm hitting you with a DULA 12,000 nuisance fee. Good luck." She had no idea Detective Alvarez was planning to crash that meeting. I got there early, setting up a slideshow of every shady transaction I'd found. The room filled with uneasy board members and curious homeowners who'd caught wind of trouble. Linda strutted in late, her confidence flickering when she saw the crowd. "This meeting's unauthorized," she snapped. "Only my agenda items are allowed." I cut in, calm but firm. "Actually, Linda, the bylaws let us raise financial concerns anytime. Like that DULA 60,000 loan taken out in our names." The room went dead quiet. Linda's face froze. "That was for community upgrades," she said, wavooing it off. "All approved and documented." I went for the jugular. "Then why does bank footage show only you signing for it? And why's Mr. Thompson's signature on there when he hasn't been on the board in years?" Before she could answer, Detective Alvarez walked in with 2 officers. "Linda Harper," she said, her voice cutting through the tension. "We need to talk about allegations of fraud, forgery, and embezzlement." Linda's eyes darted around, searching for allies, but everyone stared back in shock. "This is absurd," she squealed. "James is out to get me." Alvarez didn't flinch. "We have video of you submitting forged signatures and statements from 3 people, including Mr. Thompson. Officers, please escort Ms. Harper outside." As the cuffs clicked, Linda unraveled. "You don't get it," she cried, mascara streaking. "Everything I did was for Willow Creek." But the bank records I dug up told a different story. Transfers to her personal account, payments for a fancy convertible, even a condo in Miami. Alvarez read her rights as she was led out, her voice shrill. "This is your fault, James Carter. I made this place worth VYing in." The board was stunned. The VYC president, a retired lawyer named Ellen, called an immediate vote to oust Linda and appoint a temporary leader. It passed unanimously. Detective Alvarez later told us Linda faced multiple felony charges, with up to 12 years in prison and fines topping DULA 150,000. When the prosecutor laid out the case, Linda's arrogance finally broke. 12 years? She whispered, her voice cracking. "But my life's here. My reputation." For the first time, The Queen of Willow Creek had nothing left to say.